Today we are going to discuss and present about rule of law. I am joined today by my colleague Abdelhaleem Amir, the head of our disputes. Welcome, Ustad Halim, today. If you can give us an idea about rule of law generally and how it is enshrined in the Oman law.
Thank you, Ahmed. I'm very delighted to be here today to discuss this very important concept, which is near and dear to the hearts of law practitioners. Ideas about the rule of law have been central to legal thought since at least the 4th century before Common Era. It's a fundamental concept that every individual of the society must be abide by. It's generally defined as the process, mechanism, institution, practice, or norm that support the equality of individuals or citizens before the law and prevent the arbitrary use of power by subordinating it to well-defined and established laws. From this definition, one can see that the concept implies several things. First, creation of laws. Second, their application. And third, the relationship between the legal rules themselves are legally regulated to ensure that no one is above the law, including highly placed officials. Separation of the judicial authority is thought to be an important aspect of rule of law. Likewise, the existence of laws and the existence of the basic law is very important, which has been adopted in most states of the world, including Oman since 1996, when the basic law was first issued, which has recently been replaced by, in 2022, following His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq assumes the reins of power in Oman.
Indeed, thank you very much, Ustad Halim, for highlighting about rule of law generally and how it has been codified in the Basic Statute in 1996. Before that, I would assume it doesn't mean that there wasn't rule of law principles in the legal system of Oman, like access to justice, accountability, and transparency. All of these pillars have been in the legal system since the establishment of the country and the legal system in 1970. However, we saw the real codification of those principles in the Basic Statute and subsequently implemented in various laws and regulations. By way of an example of that may include, of course, the Oman Penal Code, which provides for the accountability of the officials if they misabuse their powers or they go beyond exercise of their powers as set out in the law. Again, we are seeing the same principles in the conflict of law, which is applicable to all officials. If those officials are working in the governmental companies in which the government owns 40% or more, or in the ministries or any other governmental bodies. Now, in terms of the implementation, I believe, of those principles, we have seen some cases that have been considered and looked at by Oman courts back in 2011. And as we speak, we understand there are being some cases against some of the officials, which again shows the application of the law equally and fairly, regardless of the status of the employee, whether he works for the public sector or the private sector. A rule of law is a very broad concept and subject, and in order to fully implement it, it needs to be reflected in various laws, and that may entail, of course, review of those laws and covering any gaps in that respect. As you have mentioned, a definition, there is no one definition of the concept of law, and therefore it is a concept which is continuously developing, and as laws are amended and the economy develops and the legal structure of the countries as well as political and social, I believe such concepts can be looked at and reviewed and defined in order to be convenient and suitable in each legal system. So in terms of the way you see it evolving and developing, Ustad Haleem, in the near future, what's your view and intake on that?
Thank you, Ahmed. To begin with, I think Oman have made great strides in securing the necessary features and requirements to foster the concept of rule of law. A number of comprehensive regulations have been passed, and as you correctly stated, access to justice now became more and more easier, as a number of courts have been established in Oman since the modern Renaissance, and access to justice become much more easy now, and law is being taken seriously and applied regardless of the status of individuals. I can only see that there will be further developments, and I see that Oman is moving in the right directions in the arena of creating laws that foster the concept of rule of law.
Thank you very much for the deep insight. And I would agree with you in terms of access to justice. Oman government has recently implemented a number of initiatives where it is now possible to make an electronic submission, and even to the extent the parties can appear using electronic applications before the court, wherever they are. And that, I think, a very important milestone in terms of upholding justice in Sultanate of Oman. And the rule of law concept becomes more and more important when it comes to dealing with very key laws like foreign investment laws and other laws, where foreign investors are very interested and keen for their rights to be protected, and to ensure that there are institutions which will enforce the law. Again, I would like to thank you, Mr. Haleem, for your time today and for your valuable input and insight on the concept of rule of law. And I very much looking forward in the future to have similar discussions around other concepts under Oman law, and your view on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. I'm delighted to be here, and I look forward to speaking with you further in one of our video series.
Thank you.